Hey everyone, it's Jay here. In this video, we're going to talk about how to automate Airbnb messages if you're a host. If you host an Airbnb property for long enough, you'll realize that for every guest that arrives, you sort of need to send the same kind of message. It's always with the same information, and it can start to grate a little bit when you've been hosting for a few months. Now, luckily, Airbnb, they do have a kind of solution, which is to use these things called saved messages. So I'll just show you an example. When replying to a guest, I can just select use a saved message, and I can choose an existing message, or I can write my own new message. So this is great, but the problem I realized with this is you can't automate certain things. So for example, if you use a different piece of software like MailChimp, it normally has a feature sort of like a mail merge where you can add variables and MailChimp will automatically replace this for you. So for example, if I want to say, hi, Susie, I can do good morning guest name, and the app or the web app would replace that for me automatically. But Airbnb doesn't do this, which I don't know why. Maybe they'll fix it in future. But at the moment, whenever I type in a predefined message that I want to make personal, because I want to include the guest's name, I have to go and hunt down different things that need to be replaced. So we can get around this using some software on our computer that will handle automation. For the sake of this video, I'm going to use something called Keyboardmeister. Keyboardmeister is a Mac app that I think is brilliant and you can use for lots of different things, not just text automation. It's sort of a Swiss Army knife, but we're going to make this pretty simple. You can also use something called AutoHotkey if you're on Windows. I've not used it myself, but it's an alternative piece of software that has the same kind of ideas behind it. Now, Keyboardmeister actually costs money, but you can get a free trial, and I certainly recommend picking it up if you want to automate anything on your computer. It will save you lots of time, and it's definitely worth the money. But for the sake of this demo, as I say, you can get a free version as a trial to see whether it's worth it for you. So I'm going to switch to Keyboardmeister now and show you how this works. And we're going to go down here and click Add Macro. And then we're going to call it a name. So I'm going to call it Airbnb. Then we're going to add a trigger. So a trigger is something on your computer that will initiate this macro. In this case, we're going to do a typed string trigger. So this means if you type a certain word, it will trigger it. Now I'm going to call this air. So once we've got a trigger, we're going to add an action. So we're going to click this area here where it currently says no action. Now this is going to bring up a whole list of different things that we can do with Keyboardmeister. And this can be very overwhelming at first if you're not used to this software. One tip I have for you is I often find it easier to go through the different categories because you can kind of see everything grouped together and it makes it easier to find a certain thing that you want to do. In this case, I'm going to go to all actions because I know what I want to do, and I'm going to search for it. And we want to prompt ourselves and click prompt for user input. And we're going to ask ourselves, what is the guest name? And we're going to add a variable, and we're going to call the variable guest name. What we want to do is, as we're building this macro, we want to test it out just to make sure things are doing what we expect them to do. So let's go back to our browser and let's try and trigger it. So if I go air with an extra R on the end, Keyboardmeister will ask us a question. What is the guest name? And I can just type something like Susie, press OK. Now nothing happens because we haven't got Keyboardmeister to do anything. It's the end of the macro. Let's go back to Keyboardmeister. And now let's do something with this information. So I'm going to go insert, and then we're going to insert text by pasting, just because pasting is faster than typing. Let's grab this text here. And here's where we're going to want to replace all the placeholders. So in this case, we want to automate the guest name. So I'm going to delete guest name and then go here, insert token, variable. Now your list of variables will be pretty small, but mine's quite large because I work with Keyboardmeister a lot. In this case, we're going to go guest name here. And you can see that Keyboardmeister inserts this sort of token for you. The rest of this message happens to be standard. It's always going to be London for me. Check-in time will always be the same. Property address will always be the same. I'm just going to put London. And the username, Password will always be the same, and my name will always be the same. But we have automated the guest name. So let's try this out. Let's go back to my message and I'll trigger it again. And now it should actually do something. So I've put Susie, press OK. You can see what we've done is we've automated this. So now it's automatically inserted this placeholder in and pasted in the rest of the message. So as I say, this is a very simple example. We haven't saved too much time, but we have automated it and we don't need to think about hunting down the name and replacing it manually. But in the second video, I'll show you how to make this much more useful and flexible so that we can save more time in responding to guests.